Hello everybody, it's me, Fee, White Zulu, and I want to welcome you to another chapter of Okavango Diary, and I hope you're enjoying these readings. I want to welcome you all, and if you are enjoying them, please share or press the like button or whatever people do if they want to. I'm sorry, I'm a bit Diomaka today. I haven't got any words in front of me to read, so I'm doing this off the cuff. However, this is a greeting to you all and a welcome, and I hope that you enjoy these chapters that I'm reading out. They go out twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, if all goes well, and enjoy them. And thank you so much for listening to them. Share them around. Thank you and goodbye.
At the crack of dawn the next morning, I could hear the scratchy, slightly querulous squawks and squeaks of the greater blue-eared, glossy starlings, who are always the first to start the dawn chorus. My bedding was soaked through with sweat, as was I, so I decided to risk a nice deep bath and wash my damp, sweaty hair. So I ran a full, lukewarm bath in the lovely deep ball and claw tub and climbed in to soak. The next thing I knew, a great, long grey trunk came in through the open window of my tiny bathroom, and an elephant took some long, deep draughts of my water. I was riveted, delighted to be in such close and amiable contact with this 5-ton wild bull. I could see through the window that he had enormous tusks and recognized him from having chased him out of the camp so often. He continued to rumble away in a contented fashion, and then took several more long drinks from my tub, encouraging me to fill it up again. He also fiddled with the taps, using the tip of his dexterous trunk to try and turn them on and off. Eventually, when he appeared to have had enough to drink and had turned his attention to the leaves above my hut, I soaped myself quickly and washed my hair with shampoo, letting the water drain out completely, just in case he didn't like the taste of soap. I felt very secure with him. I don't know what it was, but he gave off this aura of being a protector, making me feel very safe. He was the only friend I had now, and realized that it was just possible that he sensed I was scared and in trouble, and was standing guard outside my hut, preventing anybody or anything from getting in through the door. I talked to him quietly, using the voice with which I had soothed many skittish horses in the past. He rumbled back, huffing me gently all over my feverish face with his trunk, in an attempt to cool and dry the sweat off me. It was a wonderful sensation. During the day, I lay there in a kind of stupor. Nobody came near me. The BFH had clearly given the order that no members of staff were to go to the hostess's hut. She, and only she, was going to look after me. This entailed her coming in at regular intervals to demand why I wasn't feeling better, then to bring a great heap of paperwork for me to do, which admittedly was the hostess's job. But between my swollen, sore eyes and my throbbing headache, I couldn't even see the print. She didn't bring me any more to drink, nor did she offer so much as an aspirin or paracetamol, even though I knew there were some in the first aid kit in the office. At no stage was I offered even an apple, let alone any other food. On what might have been my fourth day, I was drifting in and out of feverish sleep all the time now. A head popped in my doorway, and a soft voice called out. It was Kiera. She had been sent, very reluctantly on her part, up for her job, from her job at head office, taking bookings, to take my place as hostess until I recovered. The BFH wasn't coping at all, doing her own job as well as mine, plus having the hunters in for meals. Kiera hugged me warmly and then said, "Oh my God, look at you. You look as though you're at death's door. The BFH has told me you just had a tummy ache, but looking at you, I think you should see a doctor." She hadn't told me not to come and see you, but she didn't tell me to come and see you either, so I just took it upon myself to check up on how you were, and I think you need urgent medical attention. She couldn't stay long, but told me how absolutely adamant she had been that she wouldn't come back to help the BFH out. They'd even tried to coerce Mark into coming over here from Sarrow, but he wouldn't budge either. They had to offer me an awful lot of money and extra time off afterwards in order to persuade me to come up and work for that bitch. And what's more, we now have the early morning drives, so I have to get up at 4:30 in the mornings. I'm staying in your old pilot's hut until you're better. And then she was off to pour drinks for the hunters, all of whom she absolutely loathed, having declared that she wanted to poison them for shooting all her beloved animals. I told her quickly about the elephant drinking out of my bathtub. Oh yes, Saddam used to do that occasionally. The first time that great big trunk came snaking in through the open window, I got the fright of my life and jumped out of the tub, she laughed. I felt better for seeing Kiera again. That was the first time I had heard anybody laugh since she left. She told me that she would try and impress upon the manager how really sick I was, and also attempt to persuade them to fly me down to see a doctor in Maun. And with that she left. I carried on languishing, getting weaker and more dehydrated by the hour. Mercifully, I didn't see much more of the BFH, as she had her hands full with recalcitrant staff doing the minimum of work and very badly. Anyway, all her visits had done was to wake me up from a healing sleep, only to upset and unsettle me. If she couldn't physically prod me out of bed, she was going to try getting me up by laying a guilt trip. Unfortunately for her, I felt no guilt whatsoever. Days came and went, and I lost count of how long I'd been without food, any medical attention, and with only suspect tap water to drink. Soda water was available in cans, and a couple of those to drink would have been most refreshing, but I got nothing. My elephant friend continued to look after me, as I saw it. It now became a routine. When he heard me filling the bath, his trunk would appear through the window and feel around for the water, and then take long drinks from it. After I got in and was soaking, he would continue to drink, play with the taps, and then spray water over his shoulders and back to wet himself down, cool off, and get rid of the flies or mosquitoes for a moment. Then he would settle for the night, rumbling quietly and eating constantly, delicately pulling leaves off the big tree watered by irrigation to keep the lawns green. He wouldn't break even a twig, and if I wanted to, I could get up and open the door to see his legs planted there like two pillars. The first time I tentatively put my hand out to stroke his rough, leathery skin, and, since he hadn't flinched away, I continued up to stroke his trunk and talk to him every night, as long as I could stand there, leaning on his great big leg to support myself while I swayed with weakness before stumbling back into bed. Kiera popped in whenever she could spare the time, and when the BFH wasn't around, she brought me an apple and a knife to see if I could keep any food down, to no avail. I was still being sick and was passing water now through the other end. She, too, was utterly miserable. The woman had shouted at her and been as mean to her as she had to me. This would have been quite unnecessary, as Kiera did her job very well and very thoroughly, and there had never been a single complaint about her. I'd heard the helicopters fly off a couple of days ago, and Kiera said that she'd been so pleased to see them go. The hunters had been arrogant and loud, bossing her around, and got drunk every night, staying up until the small hours demanding drinks, when they knew perfectly well that she was expected to get up a couple of hours later. When she and I and Fred had been a team, we had often sent Kiera, as the hostess, off to bed early, directly after we'd eaten dinner, excusing her from the after-dinner chat around the boma, and served the drinks ourselves. We'd also excused her, or Mark if we were at Sarrow, from the early 7 o'clock meetings which were held in the office every morning, so as to go through the day's events. I had to get up anyway to open up the laundry and the kitchen, and Fred had to give the guides their instructions for the day, but there was no need for Kiera to be there, so we let her lie until breakfast at 9, and she was very grateful for that. Now she was being worked off her feet and only getting 2 to 3 hours sleep a night. I just pull my pillow over my head when I hear there are elephants in the camp, she said. Fred's system of putting Oscar and his fire on the outer perimeter had worked a treat, and I have told them over and over again, but since they don't hear them at Moxa, it's up to me to help Oscar chase them out, and I simply can't spare my precious sleep for that. Frankly, I don't care if they knock all the trees down. I'm so fed up with those two idiots. Let them get into trouble. These clandestine visits from her had to be very brief, and our conversations kept to a minimum, in case the BFH was prowling around and caught us. It was like being back at school dodging the teacher. Although this woman had no more jurisdiction over us than we had between ourselves, she certainly didn't hold any rank and had no business speaking to us the way she did. We were only answerable to our bosses in Maun head office. Also, Kiera had to try and make up for lost sleep whenever she had a spare moment. I don't know if you can die from sleep deprivation, but I know that I'm going that way, she complained bitterly to me, I don't think I've had more than 5 hours sleep in the past week. And it's not going to get any better now that we have the 5 o'clock game drives. And she sighed. I felt so sorry for her. It was due to me being so ill that she'd been dragged up here to work with the dreaded BFH. I just hoped I was going to rally eventually, in spite of living on swamp water alone. It must have been about the 8th day of being left alone during the day and having my elephant for company at night, when the BFH came storming into my hut. "We're flying you down to Maun to see a doctor," she snapped. "This can't continue, as we need you back at work as soon as possible. Pack an overnight bag, get dressed, and wait for the midday plane when I'll call you." I struggled to get my bag down from on top of the wardrobe, stuff a few belongings in it in between rests, and dragged my uniform on, which was now 2 sizes too big for me. I'd got so thin. Before I collapsed back on my bed again, as the room was spinning around in a dizzying fashion. The hours dragged by very slowly until I heard the sound of one of our little planes landing. There was a banging on the door, and I staggered out along the lawn and down to the jetty, where the manager was standing there greeting guests. He looked a bit taken aback when he saw me, and gave my shoulder a brief squeeze before he helped me into the boat, where Jonathan was waiting to take me back to catch the little plane down to Maun.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to my videos and my stories of my life. And I want to thank John Moslane for being what I call the sound engineer, but I'm sure there's a more professional word for it. However, faithful, and for 4 years now, I think, he has been here for me every Wednesday. Well, I think it's Wednesdays, but once a week to record 2 chapters of whichever book it is I'm reading. And without him, this couldn't be done. So a big thank you to John. Also, Sean van Vuren, we send the videos to him. Sorry, I'm not reading this. I'm just doing it off the cuff. And my brain is a bit Jumaka. And Sean uploads them to the YouTube channel where you can find them all in playlists. He does it beautifully. And I want to thank them both for all the help that they give me. Well, it's not help. They do everything for me. And it's a great asset. So also, I have a website called whitezulubook.com, obviously www in front of it, but you'll find it there. Quite easy to find. Johnny Clegg's called The White Zulu. Mine's called White Zulu. And you will find on my website, you'll find all kinds of photographs going way back to when my ancestors settled in the Cape, 1652. Well, not photographs of them, but descriptions. This photograph of my grandmother's wedding, and lovely, lovely photos of the farm we still own. My sister sent me a photograph this morning of the farm in midsummer, and she says how beautiful it's looking. I've had a lot of rain. So, just want to thank my helpers, John and Sean, to thank you all for listening, and also please share this with everybody else. Hit the like button and enjoy. Goodbye.